Hi, this is Ross Nickerson, and welcome to your online lesson. Good luck with the lessons today, and thanks once again for joining me. When learning how to play the banjo, how you place your right hand or picking hand is very important. I'm going to give you some suggestions and tips and kind of give you a little background of why you would place your fingers this way or what the advantages are and so forth, and I hope this is helpful to you. It's suggested that you place 2 fingers on the head, and you would put them in a place that would put your picking fingers in the correct place. And so rather than focus on where you put your fingers down, focus on where your picking fingers are going to end up. And you should be picking in this area right here, which is probably just a little less than an inch from the bridge here with the middle finger on the first string, somewhere in that range. You can hear that the tone kind of comes into play right about there. If you get too close, you kind of lose some tone. So again, if you've got long fingers, I have very short fingers, you may have to put your fingers back here to get your picking fingers in the right spot. Again, that's your kind of your priority there, is where the picking fingers hit. One of your main goals with right hand positioning is to pick straight up on the strings. So that's very important. The straighter angle that you get on the strings, the clearer the tone you're going to get, the more volume and control you'll have. There's quite a lot of discussion about whether to put 2 fingers on the head or 1 finger, and one of the reasons there's a lot of discussion about it is because it's very difficult to put 2 fingers down and be able to pick freely. Most folks have the ring finger will follow the middle finger, and it takes a little bit of practice. It's really okay to play with 1 finger down as long as you keep in mind the priority, and that is that you want to keep your hand in a stable position and you want to pick up straight in the strings. If you only have 1 finger down and you let your hand kind of droop down like this, then that's not staying with what's important, which is getting a good angle on the strings and having a good stable position. Some folks' fingers this finger may be so much longer than the little finger that it's really difficult too, so I've seen some students only place the ring finger. Again, I wouldn't get too hung up on that. Earl played with 2 fingers down, and I learned to do it. It took me a little while. It took a little practice. I actually had to kind of tape my fingers together to retrain that ring finger from following the middle finger. But the one advantage I saw from learning how to do that was I did start to pick a little straighter up on the strings. So just keep that in mind as you learn how to do that. I think it would be perfectly fine to start with a little finger if that's how you need to get started, and not to get too overly concerned about that. The other important aspect would be how you place your wrist. I've noticed that if a student gets their wrist too much like this, that it really kind of binds them up and they can't really get in the strings very well. And that putting an arch in your wrist, like in this area right here, is a good effective way to really dig into the strings and give you more control and power and volume in your picking. The way I like to teach students how to do that, it revolves more about where you place your forearm. If you have your forearm here and you place it on the armrest a little bit further up the forearm, and then you place your fingers down, you'll find that it puts a natural arch on the wrist there. If you were to put your forearm here back on the armrest, you can see that your wrist has to sort of flatten out as you do that. And also the elbow will kind of stick out. So if you put the armrest on the forearm there and the elbow comes in, that's a good way to accomplish that. I'm not going to say that there's only one way to do this, but this is a good recommended way to really get an arch in the wrist, dig into the strings, pick straight up, and get your hands in a stable spot. The first roll I'm going to demonstrate I call the alternating thumb roll, and I learned that from the Earl Scruggs and the 5-String Banjo book. It's sometimes called the square roll or the box roll. The pattern is thumb, index, thumb, middle, and that's a good way to memorize it too. Just remember thumb, index, thumb, middle. You could say it out loud or write it down, anything. And that's the pattern that the fingers work in. I'm going to show it to you picking on certain strings, but just remember that the pattern could be played on any string or any combination of strings, and it would still be called the alternating thumb roll. I'll demonstrate them for you at 3 different speeds, and I'll start by playing it at kind of a medium speed, going to a slower speed, and then a faster speed. The faster speed may be beyond your capability if you're just getting started, but it gives you an idea of what you're shooting for. Sometimes I'll put a little bounce into the roll, and to me it just sounds a little better that way, and it's a good way to make your music sound a little more interesting as you're first getting started and you're not able to play a little faster. Don't let that throw you. If you can pick it up by ear, that's fine. If you play the roll slowly and in what would be called a straight time, sometimes it can get a little bit monotonous for you. So don't be afraid to put a little bounce in there, but it's not something that is necessary or unnecessary, really, if you hear that.